Hello everybody, Adam Clery from FourFourTwo here, and as you've probably heard, Bournemouth completed the biggest comeback for 20 years in the Premier League, but because broadcasters are apparently idiots, it wasn't on TV, so nobody saw it. Although in a completely unrelated turn of events, you're not going to believe where I was last night. Hello everybody, Adam Clery from FourFourTwo here, and we've been saying for ages on the channel that we'd love to do a video on Iraola's Bournemouth. It's just that we never get a good slot on television. There's always something else to talk about. So I've come all the way down to the Vitality in sunny Bournemouth to see them for myself and see what they do and how good they are at it and what they're all about. And yeah, I'm excited. Cherries. Yes, of course, that was me just a few short hours ago, thinking I was heading to the Vitality to do a video on like pressing and out of possession and work rate off the ball and just all that nerd stuff, unaware I was about to see possibly the greatest game of the season. So how the fuck did that happen then? Well, thankfully, in the absence of any extended footage, I have both the Subitio table and a memory, so I can show you. So first of all, this is the Bournemouth side that started the first half, and Iraola, by his own admission in the press conference, got it completely wrong. The thing you need to understand about the way Bournemouth play is that they are not interested at all in building out from the back. They do not want the ball in this part of the pitch. In fact, they rank third lowest in the entire Premier League for the number of passes completed in their defensive third, which puts them right next to Arsenal, who don't do that because they spend so much time dominating teams, and Everton, who don't do that because they launch it long at every available opportunity. And I suppose you could sort of describe Iraola's style as like somewhere between the two of those. Like, they're not like Everton. They're not going to sit really deep and soak up pressure and then try and get up the other end as quickly as possible. And they're not like Arsenal, where they're going to play through the lines and the phases really, really quickly to try and get the ball into the final third. They're sort of a bit of both. They're more than happy for the opposition to have the ball, but when they get into the middle third of the pitch, then they all press together as a unit, and if they can turn the ball over, that's when they try and spring a really quick attack through the forward three and get a goal. And it's kind of going a little bit underappreciated just how good they've become at doing this. Like, no team in the Premier League has won the ball back in the middle third of the pitch more than Bournemouth this season. Like, they've done it more than Liverpool, more than Tottenham. All the teams you think of as being high pressing and counter-attacking, Bournemouth are actually slightly better at it in this part of the pitch. And they'll tailor this approach as well, depending on who they're playing. If they think the opposition's slightly weaker when they're in their first phase of build-up, then they'll focus their press in the attacking third. And I think they're like third in the league, behind Liverpool and Spurs, again, the undisputed kings of this style of play, at the amount of tackles they've won in that part of the pitch. They're really good at it. They're joint second in the entire league this season for goals scored resulting from a high turnover. Like, again, it's only Tottenham who've scored more than they have, and they've only scored one more than they have, and Bournemouth are level with the likes of Newcastle, Brighton, Man City, etc. for that particular stat. Like, it took a while. Obviously, the start of the season, everybody remembers it felt like it was all going wrong, but they've really grown into this, and it's a great way of playing. Or rather, it is if your opponent is likely to be having the ball in either of these parts of the pitch. Against Luton, the whole system kind of collapsed a bit. Luton were not interested in having the ball. They were not interested in building up through the thirds and leaving themselves vulnerable to losing it in these positions. They were very happy to just sit off and let Bournemouth dominate the game, so they had to try and break down a far more sort of resolute and compact defensive unit, and they struggled so much with that they got done on the break 3 times in the first half. Third goal's the best example of this, because at 2-0 down, they're trying to get a bit more movement, a bit more interchange. Players are taking a few more risks, but they turned the ball over, Luton, right in their own third, and this is Zabarnyi here. Luton get up the pitch in all of like 2 passes. Mepham has come all the way across to cover for his centre-back partner because he's out of position, but then Cook has come in behind to cover because he knows he's out of position, and they let Ross Barkley go, thinking he's offside, but because there's a defensive midfielder here where there should be a centre-back, he's read the line all wrong and he just waltzes on through. Now, this is on the verge of being an absolutely disastrous result for Bournemouth, but Iraola goes in at half-time and he makes 2 very, very specific changes that completely turn the game on its head. This is the Bournemouth side that comes out for the second half, and yes, Sinisterra has gone off for Tavernier, but the main changes are that Alex Scott has left and he swapped the 2 centre-backs over. I'll tell you why they were so significant, right? First of all, Enes Ünal in this position is a completely different prospect to Alex Scott. I don't personally think Alex Scott is a 10, even in a system that's supposed to be pressing, but he absolutely is. If we just look at Scott's heat map, first of all, right, he's sort of a bit all over the place. He's drifting left, he's drifting right. You can see he's trying to get on the ball against a team that is sat quite deep. He's trying to find the space. He's trying to float around, and that was giving no help whatsoever to Dominic Solanke. But then, if we swap that over for Unal's heat map, you can see straight away he is spending a lot more time near his centre forward. He is getting around that. He's being a presence in the box. Against a team that is sitting deep, he is giving them something else to think about rather than just something else to watch. But the most important change of all for me was swapping the centre-backs, right? Because I'm just going to overlay what Luton's system was allegedly on all the team sheets and on all the data things, right? It was that 3-4-2-1 they've been playing a lot this season. But I can tell you, right, I was there. They were playing a back four. The way that worked was the 3 central defenders all shifted across, and then Kabore on this side was going in as a conventional right back. Now that allows Ogbene, who obviously wants to be the sort of right wing back in this situation rather than one of the floating 10s, to go all the way over to that side. He's providing the width over there. Alfie Doherty's obviously providing the width on the left hand side, and it was leaving Chong sort of free to kind of go wherever he wanted in this sort of like left hand attacking space. And that created an enormous problem for Lewis Cook, right? Because obviously Christie's getting pulled slightly further over that side to sort of keep an eye on Ogbene. It meant he was getting doubled up upon by Chong dropping onto him and Barkley pushing onto him. And that's how Luton got their first 2 goals. If you look at the first one, Cook goes all the way back with Chong into the box, but doesn't really commit to sort of stopping the header, and he's free and he scores. And for the second one, he's dropped onto the other side of him this time, and he gets the ball and he plays in Doherty. You've gone off on a tangent here, Adam. You were supposed to be telling us why swapping the centre-backs was so important. What's this got to do with Cook and Chong? Well, Bournemouth in these two have a classic sweeper-stopper combo. One likes to cover the space in behind, one likes to step out. And by swapping them over, you've now got the one who likes to step out, stepping out onto Chong. And this, coupled with the fact that you've now got Ünal on, who's going to push up alongside Solanke, so you're matching up that back four, basically gave Cook loads more freedom in the middle of the pitch to get on the ball and make things happen. Now, don't get me wrong, this is quite a subtle thing, because it's not like Lewis Cook was involved in any of the goals, but all of a sudden, Luton didn't have an easy outball for when they were defending deep, so they were forced to try and push out a bit higher to relieve the pressure. And of course, when they push out a bit higher, that allows Bournemouth to play their game better because they're going to compete for the ball in the middle of the pitch. And if, by extension, you are then forced to play out more against Bournemouth, and they can take the ball off you when you are not set, when you are in transition, as everybody says these days, they're going to hurt you. The equaliser is probably a really good illustration of this, because Luton have been camped in their own box for ages, and Rob Edwards understandably wanted them to get out and get up the pitch, and they do. Bournemouth turn the ball over on this side, and there are loads of passing options for Ryan Christie here. He can play it simple, he can just get the ball back, but instead he gets his head up, because this is how Bournemouth play. When they get it, they want to try and hurt you as quickly as possible, and he goes all the way long into this side of the pitch. Semenyo gets the ball, and he's good with it, so he scores. And that goal there, that's who Bournemouth are under Iraola. Like, it's known as a direct attack. We've talked about it a few times on the channel. You get the ball back somewhere in your own half, and then using primarily forward passes, you end up with either a touch in the box or a chance on goal. And sometimes, if you're good, you score from it. Man United, Liverpool and Villa are the 4 major direct attack teams in the league. That's what they want to do. They want to get it back somewhere, then go front to back as quickly as possible. Do you want to know who's 4th in the league this season for the number of those? Bournemouth. Like, they are the equal of the big clubs in this style of play. And if you don't believe me, just ask the direct attack kings of the Premier League, Manchester United. Because when Bournemouth turned up at Old Trafford, they gave an absolute masterclass in high pressing, mid pressing, direct attacking football and beat them 3-0. Actually, it's worth highlighting that game, because I was talking before about how Bournemouth will adapt their style to their opponents based on where they think they can best win the ball back. They literally did that in the game against Manchester United. Rather than identifying positions in that game, they instead went after individuals, specifically Amrabat and McTominay, and whenever they got the ball in slightly less than perfect circumstances, that's when they squeezed. For the first goal, it's a loose pass into McTominay. He's got a very low chance of getting that under control instantly, so Cook presses him, takes it off him, wins the ball, and they score. Now that's them pressing high against Manchester United, but to sort of offset the fact they were doing this, Ten Hag pushed McTominay further up the pitch so he wasn't receiving the ball in those kind of areas, but they just waited again. This time the ball coming into him's a little bit slow. He's got his back to most of his teammates. There's not an easy pass for him in this scenario. So yet again, that's when they close the net. They win it back, they break really quickly up the pitch, and Solanke should score. Now, full disclosure, right, get your violins out here. The last train back to London left right after full time, so I had to go when the game was at 3-3. That's quite sad, isn't it? But anyway, one observation I did make after the equaliser was that when everyone was going absolutely bananas and ballistic, right, Iraola went and celebrated with just these two seemingly random people who weren't even sitting in the dugout. And I asked sort of the Bournemouth lads, the local press I was sitting with, who are those people? And they said they're the data analysts. And I just thought that was really cool, personally. Like, as somebody who could very easily be classified as a data nerd when it comes to football, to see those people involved clearly in the decision-making process and getting recognition for the changes they'd obviously played a part in. Love that. Love that for them. Anyway, though, if you're wondering why I look so very tired, it's because even though I did leave before full time, I still didn't get back home until nearly 2 in the morning, so I'm away now to edit this video and then have a major afternoon nap. But if you have enjoyed this, we do like to cover teams that aren't just the quote-unquote big sides that the broadcasters like. We do try and find the really interesting stuff in football, such as how Bournemouth are absolutely mint. So please do subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, because we'll be making all manner of fun stuff like this in the weeks, months, I don't know, maybe even years to come. If you'd like to give me your thoughts on the game, though, please drop them in the comment section or grab me on social media at Adam Clery, Clery. I'm on absolutely everything. But bear in mind, it wasn't on telly, so if you want to, suggest something else or tell me I'm wrong, I will need to have your seat number. In the meantime, latest issue of 442, that is on the cover. I will probably write something about Bournemouth in the next issue. Maybe? Or maybe the one after that. Who knows? Anyway, pick that up from all good retailers and the crap ones as well. Let's face it. But until next time, yes. What a privilege this is to just go to Bournemouth on a Wednesday night and watch one of the greatest games in Premier League history. What a life, eh? Goodbye.